So it's always special. Super excited you guys decided to tune in today, whether you're walking to Skokie, Illinois' finest corner shop, maybe you're driving the 405 stuck in traffic, maybe you're walking your little pet pig, or maybe you're turning your final exam for the end of the semester. Either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Got an update show for you here today. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. You guys know, if you've been listening to the podcast, and especially in the diary format, we've been hitting this over the past months. I think anyone that's listened to the podcast has had a feeling that I've felt that YouTube has always been a little bit disjointed from everything we're doing on Twitch. And last week I gave you an update about, hey, you know, sometimes you got to take a shot out of left field, throw it 4 verticals in a double coverage, or just heave it, just throw something up, just change it up. And so I don't want to recap that too much, but going from the puppet video, it really sparked an entire change on how I'm approaching Escape from Tarkov videos on the channel in a really unique way. And last week we talked about kind of hitting the wave, and this week we're talking about riding the wave. There's no doubt, and I was telling Chelsea this earlier today. We're driving, I'm like, in the microcosm of our channel as a whole. So now I'm not talking about YouTube, but I'm talking about with our channel as a microcosm. We're 100% going viral within our channel, meaning that more people are watching videos on the channel than ever before. Now, before I go into the details on that, couple reasons why that's important, one reason why it's not important. One reason why it's important is it's either there's new eyes coming to the channel, or that we're creating content that people who subscribe to watch are now excited to watch. So one of the things I'm very cautious of and very always cognizant of, to me, I don't care about the metrics in terms of how many people are viewing it for the sake of how many people are viewing it. I look at it as a measure of effectiveness, as a measure of, am I making things that people want to watch? Not what necessarily always what I want to create, but because ultimately that is not the number one priority. And I know that may sound a little bit backwards or whatnot, but if I'm making things that I like but people don't want to watch, it's not a net gain for anyone, right? You know, the whole reason why I do this is to entertain, distract, and, you know, give people a place so they can watch something positive and be entertained. And so it's got to align. That's got to be number one. It has to be aligned with something that I enjoy creating, so that's how good content is made. So let me give you a recap, because I've talked 100 times. I never know what's going to work on YouTube. You just you do what you do and you see what happens. Well, right now we're riding that wave, and over the past week, we've created some very unique Tarkov videos. Unique in the sense that it's not just running a normal run through. They're a little bit out there creatively. They're a little bit goofy, but it's in alignment with what I do on Twitch. So for example, over the past week, the first video I did, really since we've talked about everything, is I created a video in Escape from Tarkov and calling approaching strangers in Tarkov to drink. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Escape from Tarkov, there's no in-game voice communication. There's no in-game VoIP. What there is a small, I'd say maybe set of 30 commands that your player can bark out. They're all predetermined. They're things like hello, hold your fire, things like that. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can approach a player in the game that's designed for people to shoot each other on sight. Let me see if I can get a player to not shoot me, and also get them to drink a bottle of water in the game without being able to directly communicate to them on one-on-one. And when I did this, I'm like, okay, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's have some fun with it. And then when I did it, okay, let me turn this into a character. Let me develop a persona around this individual in the game who wants to deliver hydration to other people. So we call them, I think I had a couple names like Mr. Hydration or whatever. I went through a few iterations because I didn't want it to be like Mr. Milkman or something like that. I wanted it to be unique. So if you saw the name somewhere, eventually be like, oh, there's nothing else that could be. So eventually I came up with Super Milkman. And surprisingly, from an executionary standpoint, or I don't even know if it's a word, but from a standpoint of getting the video to work, it works shockingly well in terms of in the game, right? I was able to, the first guy that I saw, I was able to get to do it. Now, I don't know how many players I would need to approach to make that happen, but for to land it on the first one is extremely rare. If I had to just pull a random number out, the fact that we were able to do that, it's got to be at least 1 in 20, 1 in 50, maybe 1 in 100 shots. So it worked out. It turned into a really funny moment. The guy did it. He played along. I don't even know the guy's player's name. There's no way to really tell unless, you connect in game or you kill the person in game. So it worked really well in the first try. It's kind of one of those flashes in the pans. And so I had a feeling it would do pretty well if some people would watch it because it's just something unique and not really done before in Escape from Tarkov. And so I know early on the reaction was really positive. But then I got a Snapchat a few hours later, it might have been like 6 hours later from it going live, and it says, "Hey Dan, I saw your video on the Escape from Tarkov launcher." I'm like, what? So apparently what happened was the Escape from Tarkov social media team retweeted my tweet, talking about the video, and what I did is I tagged Battlestate in the tweet, not expecting them to tweet it, but hey, I just put it on their radar to say, hey, look, I'm making this kind of content. And, so I titled the video, or titled the tweet, some people loot in Tarkov, others force hydration, something along those lines. And then I put a link to the video. So because they retweeted that, anyone that played the game, really over the past, I have to say 4 to 5 days, the second you boot up the game, the launcher comes up, and I'd probably say 25, maybe 20% of that initial screen, you're going to see our tweet with a link to our video. Now, out of how many people that launched Tarkov, how many people clicked on it, I don't know. But in terms of, from a macro standpoint, and from a straight business perspective, or from a distribution standpoint, that video got in front of the people that are probably most likely to ever watch it that's not already subscribed to the channel. So taking a step back, and I didn't really think about I don't want to call it severity, or the serendipity, or the luck, or the effectiveness of it, but it's like, hey, you're trying to get to a certain target audience, and then just by chance, I don't want to call it by chance, but by, keep swinging and keep swinging the bat, it got essentially put in front of that target audience, or that audience who may like it, for an extended period of time. And I still think it's up there. It's been up for at least 4 or 5 days. And it's just one of those things you can't really plan for, just like you can never plan for. I always talk about, you think you make a great video and no one watches it, and sometimes you make a not so great video and then everyone watches it. But I feel like I knew this was going to be a good video. I didn't know it would have the reach that it would have. So for example, just to guys give you some context, and I'm talking about this all within the context or microcosm or microeconomics of our channel. This video, after I think less than a week, has 12,000 views. So just to compare apples to apples, if we're going straight metrics, straight views, that's the equivalent of 9 normal videos that I would do in one video. So, and there's all sorts of unique YouTube metrics that I don't even understand, but I know the more views something gets, the more likes something gets in a short amount of time, the more distribution it gets through YouTube's natural algorithm. So boil all that down. What the heck does it mean? It means it's been a great week for Escape from Tarkov on the channel and bringing new people to YouTube. The second video we did, because I just want to briefly hit these numbers and share them with you, because when things go well, I like to share them. When things don't go well, I like to share them, but I also like to give actual objective numbers and facts to give you guys a microcosm. And also, right in this moment in time in this podcast, this is where the channel's at. So after that, I followed it up with a very, very similar video. And at the time, I didn't know. I'm like, hey, this is too soon to do something so similar, but I did it anyways, because it's one of those things, like, you could sit here and pontificate on whether or not to do something, whether it's making a YouTube video or deciding a new design to knit. It's either you do it or you don't. And rather than debate it, I'm just like, all right, let me make something as similar as possible and see how it does. So I tried to take the same format and same thumbnail format and do a similar video where I tried to get strangers to come into Escape from Tarkov in this video and clean a bathroom, or essentially set up a bathroom cleaning scenario. It didn't work. It worked the inverse opposite in terms of execution on the channel, meaning I really couldn't get anyone to do it. I was getting shot on sight for the most part. and it took the opposite turn. But in terms of how that did in the channel, it, as of right now, it has 4,700 views, which is phenomenal for the channel. After that, we followed that video up with the hardest Tarkov challenge ever. Essentially, when I put a video together, and these are all definitely a little bit more highly edited with more production value, music, sound effects, and things like that. But I edited together a 10-minute video of me organizing my Escape from Tarkov stash. So in general nature, probably not the most engaging video. I tried to take that topic and make it as fun and entertaining as possible. And that one has close to 4,000 views. And then yesterday released a basic gun game, so more of a gameplay featured video, and that's at 3,000 views. So basically, I'm taking a new creative approach to these Escape from Tarkov videos, building off what we talked about last week, which was, hey, people don't like Escape from Tarkov on the YouTube channel, to people don't like the Tarkov videos I'm creating on the channel. It's been a seismic shift in how I'm approaching things, and I don't want to say injected new life, because there's always been a lot of life on the channel, but definitely has impacted my direct approach on how I'm making videos in a couple ways. The first way, it's really fired me up about YouTube in terms of being alignment with everything that I do. So if you were to stumble across one of these newer style Escape from Tarkov videos, it's in direct alignment with the show in terms of it being lighthearted, goofy, not serious, funny, and positive, and not taking things, you know, overly serious in a very serious game. So I feel really good about that, where if someone were to watch that video and by chance they come over and check out the Twitch channel, the content is going to be very, very similar, if not the same personality, same kind of approach to the game, a lot of fun, and finding fun ways to have, you know, creative experience in Escape from Tarkov. The second thing that riding this wave has kind of allowed me to do is kind of flex my creative muscles, and I'd say maybe even more importantly, not be afraid to do that. You know, if I've done a puppet video on the channel, that pretty much, you know, if I feel comfortable or uncomfortable enough to release it, there's pretty much at this point not a whole lot I'm not going to do in terms of creativity, meaning that if there's something, a weird idea in my mind, there's no reservation or worried about what X, Y, or Z is going to think about it. I just do it and then see what happens. If people like it, I'll build upon it. If they don't, I'll 90-degree turn from that. So, which brings me to something that's relevant right now, which is a video that I've spent a lot of time editing and producing, and it's one of those things now where I'm trying to think of new videos or new video concepts to make in Escape from Tarkov. I don't want to continue to do the same thing over and over again on a daily basis, meaning that I'm not going to convince strangers to do things in Tarkov 7 days a week. Now, could that be like a once a week thing and keep it fresh? Yeah, no doubt. I think that's a possibility. So now when I drive around, or if I'm driving between, you know, things, I'm kind of just letting ideas just come and go and see what sticks. But for this episode that I just did, and it's just released, essentially we're building a new storyline with a mysterious stranger called Agent DNA within Escape from Tarkov, and I'll extrapolate on that. But essentially in Escape from Tarkov, there's quests, missions, or tasks, things you can do. I don't want to call them mundane, but they're definitely, you know, if you played the game for a while, they haven't changed a whole ton of a lot. You know, they're random tasks like, hey, kill 10 types of this enemy, go get this item, or go pick up this item and drop it off. So I decided, hey, I need to do those quests to progress my character. Why not build a storyline and have some fun with it in that regard? So I came up with the idea that I would start the episode in a normal fashion, and all of a sudden I would be interrupted, like someone hacked themselves into my headset, and to create this character called Agent DNA, a mysterious individual that just so happens wants us to go collect some documents in Escape from Tarkov that coincide mechanically exactly with the Escape from Tarkov mission that we're on right now. So essentially, it's like we're taking the framework of Escape from Tarkov and building a fun, funny, or lore-based story behind it, which I had a lot of fun with it. But it was one of those things where I sat down on Sunday to record the Monday video, and I had no idea what I was going to do for Escape from Tarkov. And I didn't spend a ton of time thinking about it. What I've been doing lately is I've just been going into Tarkov and looking around at inventory and tasks and clicking on a bunch of different things and just letting ideas come. And this one came to me when I saw the task. I'm like, yo, this would be kind of fun. Let's do it. So there's a lot of things I'm learning in Adobe Premiere, Premiere Pro, which is essentially, I guess, one of the top 3 editing programs. I know like the basic mechanics, but in terms of effects and things like that, I'm having to learn. One of the things I've had to learn in a redo is understand how to mess with the voice changer. And there's all these things I want to do in Adobe Premiere, and I don't know how to do it, but it's kind of like anything else in life. The answer is really simple. I don't just sit there and be like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let me sulk about it. No, I just go to Google, type in, hey, how do I voice modulate in Adobe Premiere? How do I green screen in Adobe Premiere? How do I make an image fly across the screen? It's really simple. You can learn a lot, and it's a highly underrated tip. And I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to do this. That's what Google's for, and it's a beautiful thing. There's Google. There's more often than not a 90-second video on YouTube that will show you how to do that. So I'm having a lot of fun also learning that and kind of building upon that, the way I look at editing videos now, which in the long term, eventually what I'd like to do is establish kind of a routine of how these videos are, of what I expect. And I want to do a bunch of them and then kind of turn a few over to Zane the editor, but I don't want to turn them loose with no guidance and be like, hey, this is what I want to happen. Here's the footage. Use these 6 videos on the channel as the guidelines and what I'm looking for. And so, but for me, anytime if I'm asking someone to do something, whether it's Zane the editor, Tyler, edits the podcast and does a lot of audio stuff, for the most part, I want to know how to do it myself first, or at least go through and try it and taste it and do the best of my abilities, and then so that I have an understanding of what's required from a time standpoint and things of that nature. So I'm in that stretch right now of, I think I have a pretty good idea of how I want the Tarkov videos on the channel to look, and I'm really excited about it, because the third thing I've learned from kind of riding now, like catching this Tarkov wave and riding it. A kid, tomorrow, this video that I'm fired up about this Agent DNA could flop. But the bottom line is that I think it's just proved to me again, time and time again, and this goes true for whether it's YouTube, Twitch, your job, school, whatever you're working on, you just got to keep swinging. I've stayed consistent. I put out videos every day, and it got to the point where I'm like, okay, hey, look, you can't be afraid to mix things up and try something different. It started with that puppet video, and then a week later, if you would have told me, we produced kind of the 3 or 4 different kind of story arcs or storyline videos, or just completely 4 different Tarkov videos. They've all done pretty well to very well on the channel. It's just more at bats. Just keep swinging and don't stop swinging. You're going to whiff a lot, but eventually it's like that cartoon that I tell you guys about. It's one of my favorite of all time. It's not a cartoon, but it's like a one-sheet comic from the newspaper. It shows this guy. I've talked about this. I know I brought this up in previous podcasts, maybe once, maybe twice, definitely once, maybe twice, but it shows this guy digging, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for diamonds, and he quits, and it's like a picture of him walking away, dragging his pickaxe, and there's an exact same guy underneath him. Well, and then with the guy quitting, he's like a millimeter away, like one more swing of the axe, and he finds diamonds, versus the guy in the bottom who's sitting there like diving in diamonds. So it's just, to me, it's just another example of just keep swinging, keep pushing the envelope, keep trying things. And I believe it'll always work out. Maybe not exactly how you want, but I firmly believe that. And this is another example, of that taking form. Outside of that, the other thing that's going well is MLB The Show. That series is going well. It's continuing to, I missed maybe one episode and I'll get a tweet. I always love that, because to me that's like people are dialed in and it means a lot to people. But that's been going strong, and that's like a nice little change up. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. Outside of that, one of the things I've identified multiple times, we talk about wins, I'm going to talk about losses. One of the things I've identified multiple times on this podcast is that the Tuesday night streams with Last Gray Wolf, Michael A.L. Fox, and Northern Line, I have no structure to that whatsoever, meaning I know I got to cut it at 3 to max 3.5 hours. And this Tuesday was kind of the epitome inverse of that. It ended up going, Ryan was out of town. We ended up playing Escape from Tarkov, go figure, for about 7.5 hours. And the reason why I need to cut that, there's two reasons. One, for my real life, my business, my family, health, everything. And I say health like tongue in cheek, nothing serious, but like getting sleep, which is important. It's extremely important, is that it throws the next 24 to 36 hours in a whack. So that's number one. Number two, I feel like there's a point of diminishing returns as an entertainment, or as an entertainer, however you want to say it, is that after about 3 to 3.5 hours, then it's like, I know the show that I'm putting on or what I'm trying to do is not as good as it is or where I want it to be. And that's just how I'm wired. Some people can go for 7-8 hours and stay on point. And to be frank with it, I'm sure I could too. Moving a few things around, changing, how I spend my time. But the reality of it, the situation right now, that's what I want, and that's how I know I can remain effective. So this week, another Tuesday, another opportunity, another at bat and it takes a lot of discipline, because it's a really fun experience when we find a game that everyone likes and it just works. It's like, it's tough to walk away, or tough to be the first person to walk away and be like, hey, look, I gotta go, because it's just a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people could see that. And so another at bat this week to try and end that thing in about 3 to 3.5 hours. And if they want to continue to go on, they got my tip of the cap, and please do. But I've really got to keep an eye on that. Also, this past week, I did an impromptu stream Saturday night with Melf and Austin. And one of the things, I don't stress about numbers. I just don't. And you guys know that the thing that I focus on is, am I putting on as consistently as possible clean, positive entertainment? And I know over time, if I continue to make things better 1 millimeter at a time, things are going to continue to move in that way. But it really kind of hit me out of nowhere on Saturday. Saturday night, did an impromptu stream, and the numbers have just kind of passively, or without me really noticing, have doubled. A lot of things play into that. Could be the game I'm playing, could be the time. A lot of people in our group of friends are now playing Escape From Tarkov, so I think that general audience is excited. People are coming to the channel saying, hey, I loved your water video, which means to me, anytime someone says that, I'm like, yo, this is the first time they're at the Twitch channel because they saw that video. And I don't recognize the name. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, all of a sudden, there's like 600 to 700 people watching, which is just doubled out of, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but I just don't really focus on that. But for whatever reason, Saturday night, I noticed that. The other thing that's been going on the past week, I've been making it a concerted effort whenever I have time, or whenever I can carve out some time. I've been calling members of the community that have signed up for DaneGheesling.com/list, just a simple thank you. And, I've gotten a chance to get to know a few more people. And it's kind of one of those things, is move the show, move the community forward 1 millimeter at a time. There's things that I know now, like, hey, X person does this. They've been around for this long. And I enjoy it. I think it's a way for me to show thanks to people that have been supportive and that hang around. I love surprising people in that nature. And also selfishly, I feel good when the call is over. I'm like, yo, that was cool. Like, I got to know this person. Next time I talk to them, or next time I see them, I know a little bit more about them. And, it's just something I found that I feel like it's a win-win situation, or it's helped me a lot, or I get a lot out of it selfishly. And then the other thing I decided, which is definitely out of left field, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with gaming and things here, but I've decided, I don't talk about at all my breaking the fourth wall, the business that I've been working on over the past 10 years, or anything like that. I just don't. And so for the first time, I decided, hey, I'm going to reveal a little bit of that in a couple months. I'm working on something that will be able to kind of give everyone just a little glimpse into what I've been working on that has nothing to do with gaming. And the reason I'm doing it is because I'm undertaking probably the biggest business project in this arena that I've ever done. And I'm documenting it. I'm having some of it filmed, so I'll be able to show it off in a really quick fashion. Be like, hey, Dan, what else do you do outside of YouTube and Twitch and the podcast? I just want to be like, hey, you could check this video out if you're really interested. And it'll give you a really good idea of what I've been up to. And in particular, the reason being is that I've been a little bit late, a couple shows over the past few weeks because of this project. A meeting runs over. It's far away from where my office is. So there's been things that coming up, and you guys know one of the huge things that's a deterrent for me, or something that bothers me, is when I'm late to a show, or something happens where I have to delay a show. I've never had to cancel a show, and barring a disaster or emergency, I never will cancel a show. So I want people to know at least, hey, this is what Dan was doing, and I'm doing my best to plan everything around it. There's a lot of moving parts. Some of the things are in my control and some are not. So my goal is to keep both things running, and not at the expense of the show. And then eventually this project is like, at some point it's done, and when it's done, and then it frees up a lot more time for me to continue to move the needle even further on the show and YouTube and Twitch and things like that. So it's been really good. Everything's been really good, but I'm really going to be focusing on cutting it off Tuesday. The other thing that's gone well this past couple of days is I've approached a new strategy on Instagram, and more. It's when I say strategy, it's an internal strategy, how I rationalize things, how I handle things, because I know that, number one, it's important for the growth of the channel, and also to give people a different perspective on things. But it's also one of the things for me that's the most uncomfortable for whatever reason. But I took a step back to think, okay, hey, what do I like to see on Instagram for people that I enjoy following, friends, family, or content creators, or whoever? I like seeing personal stuff. Like I like seeing them doing their thing, stuff they're interested in, and not always like the promotional stuff or like, hey, here's what I'm working on, or here's the latest video. I like seeing that stuff, but I also like seeing, hey, what is the person like behind that video? And so that really struck me. I'm like, well, if this is what I like to see on Instagram, probably what other people like to see as well. So the way I'm approaching Instagram now is I'm alternating day by day, meaning one day I'll post something a little personal, or not, hey, watch this content or whatever, or hey, I want to make you laugh with this video. It's like, hey, something personal, or in my everyday life, or behind the fourth wall. And then the next day will be, a clip of a YouTube video or something of that nature. So that's been working for me, and I feel like it comes back to, what do people want to see versus, how do you walk that line? And I feel like this is a pretty fine line I'm walking, and I feel comfortable with being uncomfortable on Instagram to kind of push that needle forward. So outside of that, the last thing is I'm taking a mini vacation. I'd call it more like a mini trip with some family members. It's rare that I get to travel with some extended family members, so we're going for a couple days to Vegas. So that means I've really got to be super dialed in these next couple days to get all the videos done and planned out, and I'm going to end up moving a show because I leave during one of the show days. I think I'm going to move the Friday show to Thursday. That way I can still have a Thursday show, finish the Thursday show, hop on a plane, and then roll with it. So a lot of stuff going on, but I like sharing this with you. Thank you guys so much for all the love. I want to give a special shout out to the Discord community. In particular, I want to give a shout out. So at dangheesling.com/Discord, if you don't know what Discord is, it's a way for wherever in the community can hang out. It's like a chat room, and there's voice servers. It's a free program, but it's a place where everyone in the community hangs out, and there's a podcast room. So I want to give a shout out to Brett Gambit. He said, hey, Dan, I just wanted to drop a note. I've been enjoying the podcast. It's really fun and interesting. Keep it up. Brett, I appreciate you dialing it in. Feel Good Nick says, shoot, I'm like a whole month behind in podcasts. I have a few good commutes ahead of me, so I'm going to listen to those. Yo, Jesse Toast and Nick LOL. Thank you guys so much for the kind words of encouragement and that kind of stuff. It means a lot to me. I've been getting DMs on Instagram saying you're enjoying the podcast, and people in Twitch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for the feedback, because unlike YouTube and unlike Twitch, it's really tough to get feedback on the podcast outside of the reviews. So thank you guys when you send me those messages. It means a lot when you send me critical feedback or criticism. That means a lot too, what you like about the show, what you don't like. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will see you guys next Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for a fresh new episode. Also, a mini episode hitting this week. Shout out to Tyler, the audio podcast producer, because I got this podcast to him very, very late, and he's on a crunch deadline. But thanks so much, and I will see you guys next week. Later.